Hi everyone, welcome back to Small Talk. My name's Lily and happy Brexit Day. So it's finally here. Before we go any further, I just want to say I'm really sorry about the audio. I forgot that I lost my mic and I forgot to buy a new one. But I really wanted to record today, so I hope it's not too annoying, and I promise I will have one for the next video. Please forgive me. So let's get into it. Brexit Day is here. What does it all mean? Not much at the moment, but we'll get into that. For now, we have a 50p commemorative coin on its way, which Brexiters are obviously happy about. Remainers are refusing to use it in shops, so we'll see how that goes or how long it lasts. Big Ben is not going to be allowed to chime its bell tonight to signify the independence from the European Union, but Boris Johnson will be delivering a speech before we leave at 11 o'clock tonight, which will possibly set the tone for how things are going to look during this period where we leave the EU. Nicola Sturgeon as well has announced that she will now make the case for a second Indy ref. So Scotland has come back into play, but the Conservative government, Boris Johnson, has already rejected the timeframe that Nicola Sturgeon had wanted. But it's sort of like maybe a statement of intent rather than they're not going to plan to hold an unofficial referendum or anything like that's happened in Catalonia before. So yeah, we officially leave tonight. So tonight, Britain leaves the EU. Yep, that's it. It's finally here. Brexit is happening today. It's Brexit Day. But actually tomorrow we will wake up and everything will be the same, which isn't supposed to happen at Christmas. Anyway, why is it going to stay the same? Because actually what we're entering now is the transition period, or the government likes to call it the implementation period, because I think it makes them sound like they are implementing the will of the people. But actually it's a transition period and there isn't much to implement because that still has to be decided. So if you're thinking, well, what Brexit deal did we even decide in all of this time? What have they been doing for 3 years? Well, essentially the deal that was signed, the one that Theresa May has negotiated, the Brexit bill, is actually the withdrawal agreement, which was deciding the terms by which we leave, but not the terms by which we live by in the future, which is going to come now. I do have a video on the withdrawal agreement. It will be floating around somewhere up there. So what does that mean now? Like I say, everything's going to stay the same. This is now where we enter negotiations with Europe about what our future relationship looks like. We've got to decide everything now. So we're going to decide trade agreements. We're going to decide how security works. We're going to decide what happens to each other's citizens in each other's countries. So for now, you can be relaxed if you're living in another country and you're worried about it, or if you are worried about what Brexit is going to do, then you can relax for now. We have 1 year, no sweat. It's essentially just bought time. And if you are a Brexiter, you have to be a little bit more patient because we need to see what it's going to look like afterwards, okay? This is also to allow businesses to adjust. So essentially the UK is at the moment staying within the single market and the customs union. We have free borders, free movement, all the things that, you know, the EU is about. We are still in until December 2020. But crucially, we don't have any power anymore. I mean that MEPs are not going to be sitting in the European Parliament anymore. We have no voting power. We have no seat at the table. So we cannot actually change anything, but we're still subject to the same regulations for this transition period. Now, this is something that gave people a lot of anxiety because it was, I think as Jacob Rees-Mogg eloquently put it, making Britain a vassal state, tied to sort of the whims of the EU, possibly indefinitely, which is why the government is so committed that there will not be any further extensions. You know, we have just had extension after extension after extension to get to this point. So they are very keen to reassure the public, the Brexit voting public, that this is it, you know, December, we agree it, we'll get things done by then, and we're not going to be tied into this sort of powerless situation much longer. Now, obviously, things in Ireland, Northern Ireland, has been a really contentious issue. This was one of the main problems with the withdrawal agreement, the reason why Parliament kept on not passing it. and it was critically because of this Irish backstop. I do have a video on that, and I will put some details and changes in the description below, because this isn't really the video for that. But Boris Johnson has essentially removed that backstop, and now there's a different customs arrangement with Northern Ireland. So essentially goods that are going into Northern Ireland from Great Britain will have to have some sort of taxes and customs put on them, but that's only if they are transferred into then the Republic of Ireland. If they are not transferred into the Republic of Ireland, they can apply for a refund, or yada yada yada, something like this. Trade isn't my strong point. Anyway, so that being said, we've entered into this extension period until December. End of December, that's it. But the EU, quite rightly, is saying that this is a pretty tight timetable. I mean, even the most simple bilateral trade agreements usually take longer than that. And there is so much to cover. I mean, we are disentangling from a union we've been in for the past few decades. So what the future relationship looks like, we don't yet know. It's very, very uncertain. There is also, if the government commits to there being no extension, if things are not organised within a year, and I don't really hold my breath that they will be, then that means that in December we're going to leave with no deal. Oh, what does that mean? Again, why do we talk about no deal? I do have a video on no deal from before, and it's actually still relevant, so I'll put it again. But also, no deal means that we will have not decided how our trade relationship will look like. We might have decided security things, we might have decided all sorts, even medicines and patents and data sharing, you know, there's loads of stuff going on. So one of the things that will mean is that we will revert to World Trade Organization rules, which means that tariffs and taxes will be imposed on goods coming in and out of the UK. It's not an ideal situation. That's why people have trade deals, to not use the WTO regulations. It also means that there will be border checks and, you know, because free movement is ending, the borders go up and things will look quite different. Now, we know that people who voted for Brexit, it seems like that there is an appetite for no deal because they are just really wanting to get out. You know, it's been a long, dragged on experience, but this is something that would be quite traumatizing to Remainers or anybody who sort of has always hoped for a soft Brexit. You remember that from a few years ago? We used to talk about hard and soft Brexit. How do you like your eggs in the morning? Yeah, that's back. So people are pushing for a soft Brexit where we can get this sort of organised, we can have a really nice relationship, friendly cooperation with the EU, yada yada. So, all I have to tell you is that we are leaving the EU today, officially, but we're not going to see what that really looks like for a year. Some things that we need to look out for is that fishing is going to be a really big topic, okay? It's one of the first things that are going to come up. Why is it so important? Well, it was a key issue for people and for the towns that voted to leave. But there is a suspicion that the government may not be able to deliver. The hope was that in these fishing towns that they would be able to not go on EU quotas, that they would be able to fish freely, that, you know, they have felt like their livelihoods have been decimated by the agreements within the EU. However, a lot of member states in the EU are fishing is very important for their economies, and there's an idea that there may be a trade-off where the UK government may not, they may offer up fishing to get a good financial trade deal from the EU, because financial trade is really important to the UK economy as well. So look out for that. That would be one of the first promises that could be broken if they were to be broken. And that will set the tempo for the rest of the year. So the only real difference is that at the moment, if the UK changed its mind, then it wouldn't be a case of remain, it would be a case of rejoin. So we have, for intents and purposes, left, even though we're sort of, nothing's going to change, we still have to work out what actually being out will look like. And that's going to happen in December. So yeah, I'm sorry to say it, but we're actually only half time. And actually that's tiresome for everybody, you know, on both sides of the debate. This has dragged on for a really long time, and it's going to continue. Negotiations could continue for years. If we don't get a deal by December, negotiations probably will continue for years. Oh, and another big difference is that now we are free to negotiate trade deals with the rest of the world. So obviously the US is coming in, that's going to be a priority. But now the UK is free to negotiate trade deals outside of the EU and its own independent ones, and that can start from tomorrow. So if you like this today, please don't forget to subscribe or give me a like. It really, really helps. I think that I'm now going to turn my attention to the impeachment trial because it looks like that may be coming to an end soon. So I'll try to get a video out for that next week. And however you spend Brexit Day and the rest of your weekend, I hope you have a great time. Thank you.